I'm Susan, 60 years old, and I've been living with my son William and his family since my husband passed away. Our home is nestled in a quiet suburb, with a garden filled with blooming flowers and the chirping of birds every morning. I love this place, where I can feel the bonds of family surrounding me. William is 35 and works at a local bank. He's a responsible and caring son who values his family. His wife, Olivia, is 32, a kind and intelligent woman who works from home as a freelance writer. They have an adorable 5-year-old son named Daniel, who energetically runs around the garden every day. Daniel is my treasure. Spending time with him has brought color back into my life. However, lately, I've noticed some suspicious behavior from William and Olivia. They sometimes have serious conversations that they abruptly stop when I approach. "Grandma, will you play with me today?" Daniel asks me with an innocent smile. "Of course, Daniel," I reply. "What would you like to do today?" Let's build a secret hideout," he says, his eyes sparkling with excitement. As I help Daniel build a secret hideout in the garden, I can't stop thinking about William and Olivia. Are they hiding something from me? Anxiety grows in my heart. At dinner time, we gather around the dining table, enjoying a delicious meal prepared by Olivia. During the meal, William and Olivia engage in their usual conversations, but I sense an underlying tension. "William, Olivia, is everything all right?" I ask, mustering up my courage. They both look at me with a hint of surprise, but quickly put on smiles. "Everything's fine, Mom," William replies. "Just a bit stressed from work, that's all." Olivia nods in agreement. "Don't worry about it." But I'm not convinced. I feel like there's a hidden truth they're not sharing. What it could be, I'm not sure. As night falls and the house becomes quiet, I sit on the living room sofa, knitting. Daniel is already asleep in his bed. Suddenly, I notice that the door to William and Olivia's room is slightly ajar. Curiosity gets the better of me, and I quietly stand up and head towards their room. Peeking inside, I see a photograph in the dim light. I enter the room and pick it up. It shows two babies side by side, smiling. One is definitely Daniel, but I don't recognize the other baby. Who is this? I wonder to myself. I carefully place the photograph back where I found it and look around the room. There are a few more photos, all featuring Daniel with the other baby. Suddenly, I hear the door open behind me. I turn around to find William standing there, surprise and suspicion etched on his face. "Mom, what are you doing?" William asks quietly. I found this photograph and was curious." I stammer. William's expression hardens for a moment, but then he gives me a soft smile. "Oh, that's the child of a close friend. They're the same age as Daniel, and we had them play together some time ago." I see. I nod, not entirely convinced. William looks at the photograph. I don't really remember much about him, but we did have a fun time together. I sense something off about his words, but I decide not to press further. I feel like William is hiding something, but I don't think it's right to force it out of him. Good night, Mom, William says quietly, and I return to my room after bidding him good night. Back in my bedroom, I can't seem to relax, even as I get into bed. The next morning, sunlight seeps through the cracks in the curtains, illuminating the room. I wake up early, unable to shake off the events of last night. The photograph I found in my son and daughter-in-law's room and William's words just don't sit right with me. With these questions weighing on my mind, I begin preparing breakfast. The aroma of coffee fills the air, and the sound of toasting bread is comforting. Olivia enters the kitchen and greets me with a smile. Good morning. Good morning, Olivia. Any plans for today? I ask, trying to sound as natural as possible. Nothing in particular. I might go shopping for a bit, Olivia replies as she sits at the counter. William appears in the kitchen with Daniel, who is clinging to him, still half asleep. Morning, Mama. Morning, Grandma, he says in a small voice. Good morning, Daniel, I say, hugging my grandson. Seeing his face makes me feel a little less anxious. After breakfast, everyone returns to their daily activities. I tend to the flowers in the garden, but my mind is occupied with thoughts of last night's photograph. I feel like my son and daughter-in-law are hiding something, but without knowing what it is, I can't seem to put my mind at ease. In the afternoon, I decide to confront William and Olivia directly. I find them chatting in the living room and quietly sit down. William, Olivia, I need to talk to you, I say with a serious expression. They exchange glances, looking worried. Is something wrong, Mom? William asks. Last night, I found a photograph in your room. I can't help but wonder who the other baby next to Daniel is, I say, getting to the heart of the matter. William and Olivia are visibly shaken. After a moment of silence, William repeats, like I said, that's the child of a close friend. But I feel like there's more to that photograph than you're letting on. Can't you be honest with me? I ask, looking into their eyes. Olivia speaks up. Mom, that's really all there is to it. There's nothing for you to worry about. Their words feel incomplete. I sense it, but I refrain from pushing further. All right. But if there's anything, please know that you can always talk to me, I say quietly, standing up. A few days passed, and I still couldn't come to terms with my son and daughter-in-law's behavior. Spending time with Daniel was my only solace. His innocent smile and boundless energy lifted my spirits, even if only a little. One evening, as soft sunlight streamed into the living room, I was working on a puzzle with Daniel. The satisfying feeling of each piece fitting into place was comforting to me. Suddenly, Daniel spoke up. Grandma, why was my little brother erased? His words felt like they stopped my heart for a moment. Daniel, what did you just say? I asked, my voice trembling. My little brother. Mommy and Daddy said he was erased. Why, Grandma? I gasped. Could the words from this small child be the answer to the unease I had been feeling all this time? Various thoughts raced through my mind. Just then, William and Olivia appeared from the kitchen, having overheard Daniel's words. Their faces were pale, eyes wide with shock. "Daniel, what are you saying?" William raised his voice. Olivia, visibly shaken, picked up Daniel and tried to take him out of the living room. "Daniel, let's go back to your room." Her voice was trembling. William and I were left alone in the living room. "William, what's going on? Is what Daniel said true?" I asked seriously. With a strained expression, William said, "Mom, that's just a misunderstanding. Daniel must have had a dream or something. But there's a ring of truth to his words. I feel like you're hiding something from me. Why can't you be honest?" I pressed. William avoided my gaze and let out a deep sigh. "Mom, there's really nothing. Believe me." "Then why would Daniel say such a thing?" I continued to question. "Enough already," William suddenly shouted. His words stunned me into silence. He took deep, heavy breaths for a while before quietly leaving the room. I stood there, unable to say a word. Daniel's words had pierced my heart deeply. That night, a heavy silence enveloped the house. Daniel was put to bed early, and I sat on the living room sofa, lost in thought. Daniel's cryptic words and William and Olivia's reactions cast a dark shadow over my heart. Around 9 p.m., William and Olivia quietly entered the room. Fatigue and anxiety were evident on their faces. I stood up and approached them. "William, Olivia, no more secrets. I want to know what Daniel's words mean," I said in a serious tone. William lowered his eyes at my words, and Olivia gripped his arm with trembling hands. Finally, William spoke quietly, "We can't hide it anymore. We have to talk. Are you sure you want to tell her?" Olivia looked up at him, worried. "I've reached my limit. Mom deserves to know." William seemed to have made up his mind as he took a deep breath. We sat back down on the sofa, and William began to speak. "Mom, the truth is, Olivia and I had another baby, separate from Daniel." I was shocked by his words, unable to speak. The child in that photograph was Daniel's sibling. I waited quietly for him to continue. "Olivia gave birth to twins. But at the time, we were facing financial difficulties and couldn't afford to raise 2 children. So, we decided to put one of them up for adoption." William's voice was shaking. "What kind of financial problems?" I asked. William sighed deeply and continued. "Back then, we were struggling to pay the mortgage on our house. Olivia's medical expenses were also piling up, and we were barely able to make ends meet. The twin pregnancy was unexpected, and we didn't have the preparation or funds for it." Olivia picked up the story. "My pregnancy was high risk, so the medical costs, including hospital fees, were astronomical. And while I was hospitalized, William had to support our household on his own. We had insurance, but there were too many uncovered expenses. So you had no choice but to give one up for adoption." I began to understand their anguish. That's right. We didn't have the financial means to raise twins at all. Of course, we didn't want to give either of them up, but realistically, it seemed like the best choice at the time. William's voice was hoarse. Still, why didn't you talk to me about it? I asked. We didn't want to worry you, Mom. You had just lost Dad and were going through enough pain already. So, we tried to handle it on our own. But that was a mistake. You must be disappointed in us, William said, wiping away tears. I'm not disappointed at all. We're family, and we should support each other through anything, I said, embracing them. Olivia sobbed, I'm so sorry for keeping this from you. It's all right, Olivia. I understand now how much you've been suffering. Let's get through this together from now on. I gently patted her back. It was a night when the hidden truth came to light. As morning arrived, I was preparing breakfast in the kitchen when William and Olivia came in. The weight of last night's revelations was still evident on their faces. Mom, I'm so sorry about last night, William said quietly. It's okay, William. I was surprised, but I understand a little bit of how hard it was for you both, I replied with a smile. But let's think about what to do from now on, together. Later, when I was alone with Olivia, I brought up the subject. Olivia, I want us to think together about what to do with the other child, and what we should do going forward. Olivia took my hand and said, Thank you. We've been struggling with this for so long. We couldn't forget about the child we gave up for adoption. You'll never forget that child. And now Daniel has come to understand their existence too. I think we should tell him the truth, I said gently. Olivia nodded. You're right. I don't want Daniel to feel like we're keeping secrets from him. But how do we tell him? William entered the kitchen. He seemed to have overheard our conversation and quietly joined in. Mom, Olivia, I agree. Daniel has a right to know the truth. But we need to think carefully about how to tell him. Daniel is still young, but it's important to answer his questions honestly. We can't ignore the doubts he's feeling, I insisted. William and Olivia nodded in agreement. All right. Let's talk to Daniel tonight, William said with determination. That evening, the whole family gathered in the living room. I sat Daniel on my lap and hugged him gently. William and Olivia held each other's hands, took a deep breath, and began to speak. Daniel, we have something important to tell you, William began quietly. Daniel looked at his father with wide eyes and answered in a pure voice, What is it? You know how we talked about your little brother before. He didn't disappear. He's living happily with another family now. William's voice was shaking but serious. Why? Daniel asked, confused. Why with another family? Olivia continued, when you two were born, we weren't fully prepared to raise both of you. So we decided to entrust your brother to a very good family. They cherish him very much. Daniel thought for a moment. Can I meet my brother? I gently placed my hand on Daniel's shoulder and said, "Maybe someday. And when that time comes, let's tell him all about you." Daniel answered in a small voice, "Okay." His pure words resonated deeply in all our hearts. Now that William and Olivia had told Daniel the truth, it felt like our family bond had grown even stronger. A few days later, William brought up the subject unexpectedly. "Mom, do you think we could search for Daniel's brother?" "Of course," I answered firmly. "But before that, it's important to consider what Olivia wants too. We all need to be on the same page." Olivia took a deep breath and said, "I want to search for Daniel's brother too. I want to know about him, and meet him if possible. But I'm worried about negatively impacting his current life." "I understand your concern, Olivia. But let's do everything we can. Let's start by searching." I gently squeezed her hand. After that, I contacted adoption agencies and support groups to see if we could somehow find Daniel's brother. One day, Olivia received a phone call in the kitchen. Seeing her expression suddenly turn tense, I sensed that something important was happening. Olivia hung up the phone and returned to the living room. "I have something to tell you." William and I looked at each other. Daniel also sat beside us, full of curiosity. "I just got a call from the agency that facilitated the adoption," Olivia began carefully, choosing her words. "They provided some information about Daniel's brother. He's being raised in a happy family now, and they said they can look into his whereabouts a bit more." Daniel's eyes lit up. "Mommy, can I meet my brother?" Olivia replied gently, "Not right away, but hopefully soon." Daniel seemed excited. Olivia continued, "The people at the agency said they would support us." I took a deep breath and said, "Then let's accept their support and look into where Daniel's brother is. Our goal is to confirm his happiness. And if possible, to reunite as a family." A few weeks later, we received a call from the agency. They had found the current address of Daniel's brother. The family raising Daniel's brother was very understanding and graciously accepted our wishes. Upon receiving the news, Olivia said to us, "Let's set a date for the visit and prepare properly." The day finally came for us to go meet Daniel's brother. Our hearts were filled with nervousness and anticipation. Daniel also got dressed in new clothes, ready to meet his brother. We got in the car and headed to our destination. In the car, I spoke to Daniel. "Daniel, meeting your brother is a very special thing. But he might be a bit nervous too, so be kind to him." Daniel nodded. "I understand, Grandma. I'm a little nervous to meet him too, but I'm really excited." When we arrived at the destination, we took a deep breath before ringing the doorbell. The door opened, and Daniel's brother's adoptive parents greeted us. They smiled warmly and invited us into their home. "Hello. It's an honor to meet you," the adoptive mother said kindly. "He was looking forward to meeting you all as well." We were shown into the living room, where Daniel's brother was waiting. He had a face just like Daniel's, and though he seemed a bit nervous, he looked at us with curious eyes. Daniel approached his brother and gently extended his hand. Hello, I'm Daniel. I'm your big brother. The brother seemed surprised for a moment, but quickly grasped Daniel's hand in return. Hello, I'm John. In that moment, a warmth flowed through the hearts of our family. We continued to stay in touch with John's family, discussing our lives with each other. It didn't take long for the bond between John and Daniel to deepen, and they became as close as if they had grown up together as brothers all along. One time, we invited John and his family to our home to spend time together. We set a date, and the whole family eagerly awaited that day. When John and his family arrived at our house, Daniel was waiting happily at the entrance. "John, I missed you," he shouted as he hugged John. John responded with a smile, "Me too, Daniel." In the living room, we all enjoyed chatting in a warm atmosphere. John's adoptive parents were very kind people, and they were understanding and cooperative with our family. We enjoyed dinner together with them. After dinner, the children played in the garden while the adults continued talking over coffee. Olivia expressed her gratitude to John's adoptive mother. "I am truly grateful that you have loved and raised John. Seeing him grow into such a wonderful boy brings me great peace of mind." The adoptive mother smiled and replied, "We are grateful to you as well. We love John, but it means a lot to him to be reunited with his true family. Let's continue to support each other." That evening, as John and his family were leaving, John's adoptive father said, "Let's continue to meet regularly. We want the children to be able to deepen their bond by visiting each other's homes." William agreed. "Yes, we want to do everything we can to make John feel like a part of the family." Daniel was reluctant to say goodbye to John, waving and saying, "See you again soon." John waved back with a smile, "See you." Daniel and John were definitely building a brotherly bond. Every time I saw their smiles, my heart felt warm. One day, William suddenly made a proposal. "Mom, Olivia, Daniel. I want us all to take a family photo together. I want to invite John and his family and capture memories together. What do you think?" Olivia nodded with a smile. "That's a wonderful idea, William." Daniel also agreed happily. "I'm in. I want to take a picture with John." That weekend, we promptly invited John's family and had our photo shoot. The house was lively, filled with laughter. We decided to go out to the garden and take a photo of the whole family in front of a big tree. We hired a professional photographer, and the whole family lined up with smiles. With each click of the shutter, our smiles were captured in the photos. Daniel and John had their arms around each other, smiling at one another. William and Olivia looked at their two sons with pride. The photos turned out beautifully, vividly capturing the bond of our family. Photos of Daniel and John laughing together, photos of the whole family holding hands, each became a precious memory. A few weeks after the photo shoot, we visited John's home again. This visit was special. We had prepared a surprise for John and Daniel. John's family had cooperated with us, and our plan was going smoothly. We gave John and Daniel a special gift. It was an album filled with memories of their time together. The album was packed with photos we had taken over time. Of course, the recent photos were included too. When Daniel opened the album, his eyes sparkled. Wow! These are all photos of us. John was also moved, saying with a smile, "Thank you. This is really wonderful." We looked through the album together, reminiscing about our memories. Laughter echoed, tears flowed, and it was a moment when our bond deepened even further. Several years have passed since then. Daniel and John have grown up healthy in their respective homes, and our family has continued to gather regularly. The bonds of our family have grown stronger, and deep trust and affection have been built between us. One afternoon, I was sitting in a chair in the garden, gazing at a photo in my hand. It was the family photo we had taken when we invited John's family. Daniel and John's smiles, the fun times spent with the whole family, everything comes back vividly. "Grandma, what are you looking at?" I heard Daniel's voice. It seemed he had been playing in the garden with John. "This photo brings back memories, doesn't it?" I answered with a smile. Daniel and John sat next to me and peered at the photo. "I remember this photo," Daniel said happily. John nodded with a smile. At that moment, William and Olivia came out into the garden. William saw us and smiled. "Mom, it's a nice day." "What are you talking about?" "We were looking at the photo," I replied. Olivia looked at the photo and said thoughtfully, "We have so many memories with John. The time spent together as a family is truly a treasure." "John, Daniel, stay close forever," William said. "Of course, Dad." "We're brothers," Daniel answered cheerfully. John nodded with a smile. "That's right, we're always together." That night, I recorded the day's events in my diary. To never forget how strong our family bond is and how much we love each other. Closing the page where I had written, "The bonds of family have the power to overcome any difficulty," I smiled quietly.